Welcome to the next mixed media technique tag video. This video answers one of the questions that I've been asked very frequently, and that is, how do you choose the background colors that are going to work? How do you know? And I was fortunate enough to come across a couple videos and blogs that pointed me in the right direction, and I figured out why certain things worked and why didn't. So mixed media technique tag number 6, choosing background colors that will work, Anagolous color schemes.
Hi everybody, creativekady, Karen Burchill. Today we are doing a mixed media technique tag in the area of color. And hopefully in this video, we are going to answer the question that people often ask: how do you choose your background colors? How do you know what is going to work well together? Now, for some of us, we have that instinct about us. We've played with color enough and we can do it. Diane Reevely is one of those people. She just knows and can put colors together. And if you check on her blog and you just Google Diane's blog, Diane Reevely blog, and color blending or coordinating colors, you will come up with it. There's also a video on the Ranger site where she talks about this. I'm going to give you a brief summary of that, because that video and another video, which I'm sorry I cannot give credit to because I don't know, she talks about using colors that play well together. So she just starts stacking her dilutions paints. So she has lemon zest, fresh lime, and cut grass. And she said if you use those 3 on a page, they're going to play nice together. She said if you start your background with coordinating colors, even though you may deviate from that later down the road, it will look good and it will start off well, and you will find that you will not struggle. So in her video, she basically says, okay, you're going to take this one, you're going to take the lemon zest out, and you're going to replace this with vibrant turquoise. And then these 3 colors will be going. Or you can just put in London blue, and you can have this. Now, what I don't want you to think is, this only works for Diane's colors, because it works for all color mediums. What she's talking about coordinating colors is color theory, and it's based in the color wheel. And this is where the other video comes in. Now before I go, what I did based on her blog, and you may want to do this, and I'm hoping that's where your technique tag goes. I'll show you, and whether I do it as a separate technique tag, I made swatches, but I put, her suggested combination of 3 colors. She always uses 3 colors, and she goes lemon zest, fresh lime, cut grass. So I put that. Then I put fresh lime, cut grass, vibrant turquoise, and I have that. So sometimes when I'm deciding what color scheme I want, I go through my dilutions tags. Now she only did this for her first 12 colors. And of course now I think there's 36 colors. So you would have to take this and apply this to, like here I've added pomegranate seed, which was in the next release. But based on what she showed and the information I'm going to share next, I was able to say, okay, those are going to go together. And I started making up different color schemes of trios of color, or 4 colors that would work and give me a pleasing background. Now, talking about the color wheel. If you do not own a color wheel, I highly recommend that you go and purchase one. It is going to help you decide what color of focal point to put on, decide what kind of background to make for a focal point. It's something that I grab quite frequently when I'm stuck and I don't know what color to add, or I want to, I want to start with a color, but I want to do something different. Now, the color wheel, and you can buy these at the dollar store really inexpensively. They're at Walmart, even full price at Michael's. It's a very handy tool, and I highly recommend it. Short of that, you can go online and you can print one off and paint it on your own. And if you would like me to paint a color wheel with you on a video, doesn't have to be a technique tag video, let me know that in the comment section. Because once you've painted this, and here I was just playing around with my colors and mixing some colors, and then I have this. So either way, or you can Google it and go online and find it, but I think you need to have one handy with you all the time. It's that usable and functional. Anyways, so the one side, this side has, if you take blue, here blue-green, and you add yellow to it, this is what you're going to get. If you take green and you add this red, you're going to get this color. And it tells you those things. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Now, what this side of the color wheel, while for color mixing and stuff I may get into, I'm not there yet. And remember, I am not someone who has formal art training. Anything I've learned kind of as I go. And a lot of it I've learned, I do something and I'm curious and I want to know why did it work. So it was in me searching for answers. The side of the color wheel that I use a lot is this side. And as you can see, it's my color wheel's falling apart. And on this side, it talks about complementary colors, triad colors, and the like. It talks about tints, tones, and shades. In a tint, you've added white to the color. In a tone, you've added gray, and in a shade, you've added black to it. And that's what's shown here. You have the top one is the pure color, the tint with white, something added to white, some tone with, you're adding gray. So any of these colors, you can get variances. So depending on the brand that you have so I'm just going to grab my journal and I'm going to show you on a page, some of the pages. And this is kind of what I did with a lot of my stuff. This is more recent and I went back. So in here, I've got some yellows and oranges and orange reds and reds. So I just go down and now there's an area where there's 5 spaces that are together. That's what we want to look at because that marks out what's called the Anagolous colors. And over here, it gives a definition. It says using colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel. Use at least 2, but no more than 5 consecutive colors on the wheel. So when Diane talks about using coordinating colors, and she says these are 3 coordinating colors, what you will notice is you have the yellow, the green, and the blue. So she's used 3 out of these 5. So what she's using, not to put words in her mouth, are the Anagolous colors. Yeah, I just want to be clear that this isn't something special with her paints. Now her paints blend very nicely and they have a quality that some other paints don't have, and every color medium is going to be different. So back to my page. So I just want to show, and might put in some still pictures because I took a lot of pictures. I want to do a blog on this of my color and then going through the color wheel, my pages in the color wheel. So I use red. Now I may have used any one of these reds, the tint, the tone, or the shade. Now here I use my Inktense blocks. So you have that, and then we have some red orange, there's some orange, and there might be some yellow orange in there. So these are Anagolous colors. So in this one, we have some yellow. So I'm just going to cue up the yellow. And then we have green and blue-green and blue. So again, these are Anagolous colors. Now I tend to use more than 3. Sometimes I have used 5. Sometimes I might use a couple of these, and then when they're mixing, they'll actually mix some of these in between colors. I kind of went this way. I have kind of the blue, violet, blue, and I thought, okay, I'm going to add red. Now I would never have thought to add red with blue. And the reason I did it is to test out this theory of Anagolous colors. It says if I mix red with these, So I have some of the violet, some of the red violet, there's a little bit of red, and a very smidge of blue. So maybe 4 out of the five of these colors. Just to give you an idea. So in here we have, these were the dilutions paints, and I was operating with her stuff, and so I used the yellow green, the green, and the blue green to get that. More dilutions paints, and I've definitely used red, red, orange, orange, and all the way to the yellow to get there. On this one, now this is not dilutions paint, this is Liquitex Basics. On here, and I'm just going to start, I know I have there's some red violet and I have blue, there's no red, so I'm going to start with the red violet. So I went down here. I think I have blue and red violet. Those are pretty much the basic colors, but then I picked colors that coordinated with that to color my snowman as well. So I used it to add colors here that went with this when I was coloring my focal point. And here, we're just moving that way. No violet, no blue violet. I think we had a little bit of the dark blue violet with the shade of it. It had some black, some of that dark in there, and up to the lime green. Well before I watched Diane's video, well before I saw the video where someone first mentioned the term to me of Anagolous colors. So I have some yellow, kind of yellow gold, and I went to the red violet stage. So that's why this page worked, but I just grabbed colors that I thought went together. And that was Inktense blocks. And some red violet, and I've got some pink, more pink in there, so it's kind of a little bit over there. I may have stretched it to 6 colors. But this one right here, you know, nature, how can nature be wrong? So it's definitely inspired by nature, but it follows the color wheel. There we have it. We have our red, orange. I think I even did the red all the way to the yellow, and I just added a little bit of green. But I was following the colors of nature, where it looks very, you know, lots of colors. So again, I've got blue and violet and red violet. And I even added some of this. So it may not be the exact color. I think I have a tint or a shade of the blue-green on here. I don't think I put any blue, although it is in my butterflies. I chose a butterfly that had it. So let's work with our tags, and let's set up some tags similar to what I did with Diane's colors, with whatever color medium that you have.
I'm going to show how I create the reference tool, and I'm going to use Liquitex Basics. If you don't want to make that reference tool, that's fine. Skip to this part in the video and then make 2 to 4 tags using different Anagolous color schemes. Your choice.
What I recommend that you do is take out all your Liquitex Basic colors or all your craft paint colors or whatever medium you're using, your blocks for that matter, and line them up according to the color wheel. Look at the colors and line them up on your table like this. So we have the red, and the next is the red violet, the blue violet, and if there's 2 colors that are very similar, I'm going to zoom out here. I'm just going to put one behind it because when I write it on my card, I might put all of them. So I'm just going to write that all out. Then I have my light blue, my light aqua green, my green, the Hooker's green. This one, it could be substituted in there. This one can be substituted in there. So I'm just, you line them all up. So to make up a card, what we're going to do is going around the color wheel. So I'm going to start with red, violet, red, orange, orange, and yellow. And what we're going to do is make up a cue card, basically, of these color combinations and how they go together so that you can pull this out. Now, are we going to go around the entire color wheel and do it for every single combination like I did with Diane's 12 paints? Not necessarily. But we're going to get you started, and if you want to do that, you can definitely do that and keep your color swatches separate, like my Dilutions paints here. They are completely separate from anything else that I have. So basically I have this marked off every 3 centimeters. And I'm just going to do that. So we're going to use
yellow.
Let's start here.
And I'm going to go
yellow.
And show 5 colors that are shown on the color wheel. And I'm just putting the paint.
This is kind of not where I was going to go with this, so it's
my craft mat
deviated a bit.
And I find that easier, especially when you're going to do more than one color scheme, because I worked my way all the way around the color wheel. And I'm going to show you how to do that, so it may get a little bit easier. You do not have to be too terribly careful. You can overlap a little bit because you want to show how they blend. With the Liquitex Basics, I'm adding a little bit of water. The brush is a little wet just to make it smooth. Now this surface is not gessoed. You could gesso your cards ahead of time if you wish to. I didn't think it was necessary for the purpose of this, but paint will react slightly different on a gessoed surface.
I'm going over the lines because I want to show some of the blending that's here.
I'm trying to match to
yellow, orange,
the color wheel if I'm unsure. You can also mix paints a little to get something closer on the color wheel if you want. And then I'm going to show you how I record what colors I'm using, because that's part of it. I want to make this an easy reference tool to use.
Red, orange, whoops, a little much.
There you see me just getting a little bit of water just to make it blend. Now there's not much difference between these colors in the video. In real life, they seem to have more of a difference. Now, if you choose not to mix colors to show the color there, that's fine too, because it may be representative
red here.
Just the colors that you have and what's going to go together. Because that red, even if we skip the red-orange, would still be an Anagolous color with the other colors on this card.
And then I'm going to put primary red at the top because you can put any of these colors next to each other.
And I'm just putting the top color there. Sometimes you have to be a little bit careful about the two end colors. They may or may not blend well. You may want to.
So I'm going to give that a dry.
So I have my first card made following the color wheel and the 5 Anagolous colors that are shown. So I'm going to get out my micron pen once this is completely dry, and I'm going to label the colors that I used. Now, in the case of the yellow, I have primary yellow, and I also have Naples yellow. I also have cad yellow. I could list all three of those, and on here that's what I do. I list all the colors that are very similar that I could use. And there I go. So then I can use any one of those, and they may be slightly different, and I'm going to have to try that out, but I'm not going to make a separate card for each of them. So I've chosen to just flip over the card, and I've divided up the back, and I'm just using the backs. Now, the one that I did with the Dilutions paints, I just had it on the front, and that is really handy to have. You can flip it, you don't have to look at the back, you don't forget about it. So if you're making up the complete reference tool, I think that might be something you may want to consider. So what I've done here is I've dropped the one color, the yellow, and I've started with the second color, and then I've added a color at the end. And I'm going to go all the way around the color wheel doing that. Now, for the most part, I have the colors for each of these. If you don't, you can mix colors together to get that shade. So I didn't have that lime green, so I used green and yellow, and I made, by looking at the color wheel, something that approximated it. And then I put in there that I mixed those colors. So I'm just going to let that dry. And if you do this all in one sitting, as you can see, you have all the paint out, and it makes it relatively easy to get this done in a fairly short time with a minimum amount of waste of paint. So there I'm showing you Diane. She used the turquoise and the London blue, and they were interchangeable. They would go with the same two colors. So you don't have to make up a separate card for each of those. You can if you want to. I mean, you can do what you want. So I am trying to blend these a little bit by keeping a wet edge, just to show that you can get that blend in there. And again, I've dropped one off the end, and I've added one to the opposite end. I would be a little leery when you're mixing or blending Anagolous colors. If you chose to use all 5 of these, I would be careful about mixing the orange with the blue. The two on the very opposite ends, I may test how they're going to mix before I would blend them wet on the page together. I may instead put that blue more with beside a red or beside the purple than beside the orange. Just a little cautionary tale there. So I'm just going to continue going around making different color combinations. For my blue, for the blue violet, I used ultramarine blue. And then I switched to, actually I think this was cobalt blue here, but later I switched to a lighter blue, that there was more difference. But again, that's a case of both would work. Both colors are going to blend well in there. And then I went to the lighter blue. Going through this process of swatching out the 5 paints, I found rather useful. I didn't think that I wanted to have it, but I did. So now we're going to use the Anagolous colors. So I'm going to make a background, and I'm just going to use the color wheel. Now, if you've made the reference tool, you can just pull out one of those cards and then pull out the colors from it without having to go through this step. And there you see that I'm even mixing different paints. I have a craft paint that fits that color. And so you can totally do that as well. So once I have my colors out, I'm just grabbing a tag. Now, the tag that I'm going to pick, I put some molding paste on it through a stencil, and I gessoed it. And that's just to prepare it so as I would any background. Now you can apply the paint in any way. You can thin it down and apply it onto the surface. You can use a paintbrush, you can use your fingers, you can mix and match. So I'm just adding the colors, knowing that they are going to work well. I also know that yellow and blue is going to make green, so that is one of the colors of the Anagolous color scheme, if you go back and look at the color wheel. So I don't have to add green, because if I add a green, I tend to find that I end up with too much. So I'm just adding it on to the card. Now with acrylic paints, if you stop and you dry it, you can add more and it won't mix. So now that everything is looking good, I could stop here, but I wanted to show you another way that you could use Anagolous colors to add more. You don't have to blend them all on the page. You could choose to stencil with Anagolous colors. So I'm using the same stencil because I like how that looks, using the same stencil, using two different ways of getting it on there. And I'm using some of the same colors on top. So you could do the entire background of one of the colors from the Anagolous color scheme and then do the stenciling with a couple of the others, knowing full well that that is going to look good together. So it isn't all about that you have to smoosh them all together and mix them. You do have the advantage, Anagolous color scheme colors will look good together and they blend well. So let's do another color scheme. And this is one, I'll be honest, I would never do this combination, but the color wheel is telling me that these colors will work. So I'm picking 3 of them. I'm using the violet on the bottom, the cad red, orange, and alizarin crimson. So yeah, putting the purple with the orange isn't something that I would necessarily thought to do. But I love the rich, warm color that gets created here. So here I'm just mixing them on the page, but again, you could do this with stencils, you could add it in the focal point. Any of the colors that are in Anagolous are going to work together no matter how you combine them. So one more, a different color scheme, and you can choose to do as many or as few as you like. If you get it and you don't need to do it, that's fine. I just like to challenge myself with the different color combinations because I tend to stick to the same ones all the time. And knowing that it's going to work gives me a little bit more security in giving a try here. So I'm just adding as I go. And remember, you can pick two, all 5 of them, but no more than 5 is what the rule is. And now that you know the rules, you can, of course, break them. And sometimes I go 6, I go the next one over, depending on what I'm working on. If it's getting too blendy and you're losing any definition of color, that's a signal that you need to stop, dry it, and then come back to it. And I just love how this background turned out. In another technique tag, we'll do how to choose the focal point to go with your background. So you choose whether you're going to make the reference tool, or you're just going to try out several different Anagolous color schemes. I look forward to the ones that you use. So here's just a picture of one side of my reference tool. And there are the 3 Anagolous color scheme backgrounds that I created using the tool and or the color wheel. So there you see the reference tool beside the tag to see where I got the idea from. Coming up, there's kind of a summary of the procedure to setting up the reference tool. You can stop the video and copy that if you so wish.